We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Mavs Party. It's really nice to be here after a win after so many days because it feels like it's been 2 weeks since the Mavericks won. You're joining me after the Dallas Mavericks beat the crap out of the Boston Celtics 122-84. You're also, if you're here in the live stream, you're joining us following Josh and I talking. And I forgot to razz Josh after this. So you guys know we were having a live group therapy the other night after the Mavericks lost, and I couldn't figure out why the show ended. I thought it was just a glitch. All of a sudden, the show ended. Well, I learned today, took Josh 2 days to cop to this. Josh ended the stream from his phone. So congratulations to Josh Bowe for being the first person to prematurely end Mavs Party because we go on this thing forever. So anyway, that was pretty funny. All right, so first I'm going to bring up my man, Sudar Shan from across the world in India, and we're going to let him talk and then get back to his day. But Sudar Shan, welcome to the show. What's going on, man?
Hey, man. Good morning. It's the perfect start to the weekend.
That's exactly right. What'd you think of the game?
It was, Kirk, we have to talk about Jason Tatum now. He has to stop bitching at the officials and play good defense.
See that tunnel over there? It's where the winners are.
It was kind of ridiculous, the kind of discourse over the past day and a half. It was, yeah, we don't get ESPN over here, so I usually follow through all the YouTube clips or whatever bootleg streams that people put up on YouTube. But oh my God, Windhorst acting like as if he was Luka's lifetime mentor or his biggest fan, acting so disappointed was.
I don't hate it though, because like, and my man Brian, who's waiting down there, is like, I don't agree with anything that Wendy said, more or less. But like, I went and listened to it, and I'm like, look. I missed the first quarter of Game 3, and I earnestly believe that first quarter Game 3 is where the Mavericks lost that game. Not later on, because they were just out of it. Versus tonight, they buried the Celtics in quarter one. Like when Derek White hit that prayer off of the jump ball when it was 28-18, I was like, is this guy ever gonna miss something decent? And of course he doesn't. And but then the Mavericks pulled ahead anyways, and so that was. It's just this was a really it was a kind of a cathartic win. And I know they're keep being Celtics fans who pop in the chat being like, well, the Mavericks are going to lose. And it's like, well, considering it's never been done before, I would say that, yeah, that's still likely that the Mavericks will lose the series. It's very, it's impossible, but you can't do it until you've done it.
This just basically proves that the Mavericks are a better team when their role players actually hit shots, which, they haven't been doing, honestly. And I know that Luka's a superstar or whatever it is, but basically, I think people just went completely overboard. Like, you were right. Perkins saying that his stock has dropped. Like, oh my God, that man
From what
can't.
Mavericks didn't make the playoffs last year. They tanked to get out. Like Luka's stock, like are we talking compared to after the Wolves series? Then sure, his stock is lower. But are we talking overall? Like the man is going to compete for an MVP until he wins one or until he retires. Because I think Luka's just going to be the kind of guy to play till he's like 31 and then pull out. But it's like some of the discourse is just it's too much. Oh, sorry about that, guys.
Nah, it's cool. No, I mean, I was just surprised that Kendrick Perkins actually strung two intelligent sentences together. But yeah, I mean, it was just a fantastic game. And to be honest, this is free basketball for us. No
That's
one
true.
expected us to be in the finals. This is just basically overtime. So just enjoy it and like go ahead with it. I mean, the one thing that was fantastic to see was Lively actually hitting his first three of his career.
That was amazing.
Yeah. And I know everyone's jumping up and down saying that he's the next stretch five and all of those kind of things. I think the next step in his game is to just develop like a Tim Duncan post game. Like just around the key, a good jump shot or a hook shot or anything like that. That's the next step in his game, and I think that'd be fantastic to see next season.
So here's the thing: I actually think he has all this shit already. I don't think they let him do it. like one of the, and we're talking Lively, right? Sorry, my wife was putting away some dishes and it was very loud in my kitchen for a moment. The thing that really happened with Lively during the draft process last year was he started hitting threes in workouts in a way that made everybody go, oh. And there was already kind of a fairly decent consensus that by the end of the year in college basketball here in the United States, that he was one of the most impactful defenders. But nobody knew anything about his offense because he played in a Duke system that's kind of there's no screen and roll. It's all kind of motion based. And so I just got to acknowledge my man Sam here. Sam's going to come up and talk a little bit later, but he's just wandering around his house with a Dirk Nowitzki photo as he's waiting to come on the show, and it's really making me laugh. Sorry, but yeah, Lively's really, he's special. Like Lively Wembanyama. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I think the reason why he fell was because he was injured most of last season, which is always going to be a worry with the big guys. But yeah, I mean, I think the fact that they actually don't let him do that is kind of a good thing. It doesn't let him develop any bad habits.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So
I agree with that.
Anyway, yeah, great win. That's all I got. So
all right, man. We'll talk. We'll talk after the Game 5 W on Monday night. All right.
Yep.
See you. Talk to you, man. Okay. I did have something I wanted to say, but I can't even remember. Oh, you know what? We got 3 more super chats I want to acknowledge before I move on to Brian. And then we'll go with you, Sam. Don't worry. You're coming up here, Sam. You don't got to carry around that photo the whole time you're waiting. Shout out to my man, Henry, who he says, just checking in. I'll be back for Game 6. And he says 156-1. And I think that's a reference to the number of teams that have never come back from being down 0-3 in a playoff series. Shout out to Mr. Dodang saying there's still hope. Magical season no matter what. That's exactly right. Henry, our man Henry again says THJ getting minutes next game, and I'm scared. Fair enough, man. All right, coming up next, our regular correspondent, Brian. What's up, man?
Hey. 2 quick things. 1, I didn't disagree with everything Wendy said. I said him hinging his entire argument around Luka is the reason they're down in the series is where I'm like, that is absolutely a fallacy. I have no problem with complaining about the ref complaining. I have no problem complaining about the defense. But hinging the entire argument around Luka being the reason that we're down and Luka's defense being what was killing the team when we kept Boston, again, by the way, under 108 points for the 4th straight game. And
their lowest point total of the season.
And we won the first game where we cracked 100 points. I've been saying since Game 2, okay, they haven't scored. They're an all-time offense, according to offensive rating season long, right? They haven't cracked 110 points against us yet. but we haven't scored 100 points. The bigger problem over the course of the entire series has been the offense more so than the defense.
Right.
And you saw when we were able to get some turnovers, really get in their jerseys, be able to consistently play with physicality. We turned the defense up, turned that defense into offense, got some easy buckets, and that was kind of the game. Oh, another thing to mention. I took one for the team tonight.
Did you not watch again?
I said before the game started, for my blood pressure, for my own mental health, I'm just going to go continue my Game of Thrones rewatch.
Ooh.
And so I was watching Thrones. I'm early in season 2. And I looked and I checked the score, and I saw we were up by like 18 in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
I said, interesting. And that was on the real app on my phone. Went back to my Thrones watch, checked again at halftime, and I said, oh, we're still up. I stayed consistent with my Thrones rewatch, though.
Good.
I didn't check into the game until 4 minutes left in the third quarter when they were just getting ready to pull the starters out. And so I would just like to pat myself on the back for being a good teammate.
I'm appreciative of that. While we're here, this is a programming note that may or may not be important to anybody, but I think it's kind of important because I actually think the House of the Dragon HBO show coming back on Sunday is probably it's like one of the few close to monoculture shows that we have anymore. Mm-hmm. People didn't know this, but starting in January, HBO went back and basically made it $5 more a month to be 4K. So if you want to see this stuff in 4K, you will need to go check your account and make sure you're getting it. Because I've been rewatching the first season and I'm like, this looks like shit. And then I heard on a show today, and because I mean, I have like the big ass like one of the really nice TVs. Like I just spend a lot of money because I never leave my house. This is what I do. And so I have a really nice TV, and I'm like, this looks terrible. Why does this look terrible? And I couldn't really. And then I heard on a podcast today that one of the Ringer podcasts that is why. So it's like as you get to the later, if you're watching it on HBO, if you happen to be watching it on Max, that might be worth a couple month investment just to pay the $5 more because it looks better. Yes, Wiki 1985 says an LG G3. I actually have an LG C3. I'm not quite that wealthy, but it is it's worth the investment. I'm not wealthy at all. I remember when my wife gave me the go ahead to buy that TV. I was insane. Anyway, back to basketball, which is what we're here for. I said something silly towards the tail end of the season, and someone was, it was toward middle of the playoffs, and someone said, like, what do you think Lively's like peak could be? And my peak is that he could be Draymond Green with a 3-point shot, only 7 foot tall. And tonight does nothing to dissuade that.
Yeah. No, when I heard they hit a 3-pointer, I was like, in the game?
Did you see the Istok Franco, correspondent from Slovenia? He writes for D Magazine and also does some things over there. He used to write a Mavs Moneyball till he abandoned me to be with the cool Mavs people, none of whom like me. That's fine.
Love his talk.
He posted a video after before game 3 of Lively taking basically the Larry Bird 3-pointer from the corner.
I saw that. Yes.
It's like that. When you watch this shot, your initial inclination when a big man shoots the 3, particularly one if you've never seen it before, is to go, no. Only he hits this thing and like it's Splash Mountain. It is such a beautiful shot. So you'll be really excited when you see it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it like within the context of the game. God, that's gonna be so fun. But yeah, I said like a round ago that I'm done just trying to like cap like what this kid is gonna be because I didn't think he was going to be able to adjust to the level of play that we were going to need to be at to win in the Wolves series fast enough. And he was just like the best center in that series. Mm-hmm. And after game 1, I was like, I still believed in him. After game 2, people were like, this might not be a Lively series. I'm like, that might be going too far, but he does not look good. And all of a sudden, he's just gotten it together. He did it again.
Look, we've been kind of jokingly hoping he would do something like this for the better part of 6 weeks, just because if you start let's just move past this series for a second, guys. If you trap Luka and your release valve is Derek Lively, and you're telling me that he can attack with both hands, pass to either corner or either wing, or simply take the open three. I don't remember what country. Well, I don't remember what country that the Americans played in 1992 where Charles Barkley was like, I don't know nothing about, what did he say? I got to Google this, but he's basically like, I don't know nothing about country X, but they're in trouble. And like, that's how I feel about Derek Lively if he's able to take the open three, because then he can also just go tip dunking himself. I mean, I'm so high on Derek Lively that I just didn't know anything about him, you know? And Barlow, Rafael Barlow, yeah,
Shout out to
told
Rafael,
me,
man.
he's like very calmly, he's just like, trust me. He's like, just trust me. And
he said he's
like,
the one, and even he is like, I didn't see nearly any of this coming, and especially not this early. I don't know, man. I'm starting to lose words. And like you said before, his touch around the rim is so incredible. Once they give him the go ahead to just start like punishing mismatches in the post,
that's
he
right.
gets a little stronger, strengthens his core over the summer, and he just gets to like go to work against people in the post and get a little left shoulder turnaround, get a little hook shot going, maybe get a little running floater going. You know what I mean? Like in the lane, if he catches the ball in the short roll and doesn't have a immediately open pass and he gets to attack, but it's a bigger guy as opposed to like, you know, a guard who's playing low man. Like, he's literally got to add two things to his bag to what he currently is. And this offense is unstoppable as long as we keep like a prerequisite level of shooting around the three of him, Luka, and Kyrie.
That's right.
It's crazy.
Well, go continue your Thrones rewatch. Report back to me. I'm very jealous of you folks that have the ability to have the time to do this. But then again, I do this instead of watching stuff like that. So those are the trade-offs we have. Thanks so much for hanging out, man.
Yes, sir. Oh, you want to have a quick laugh?
Sure.
I'm on the episode when Theon returns to to his home.
That's poor Theon. Poor Theon.
Not poor Theon. He deserved everything that happened to him.
He really did. He's a fucker.
He's such an idiot.
All right.
Oh, man.
All right, man. We'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. Peace.
All right. Coming up next, my man Sam. Hey, Sam, what's going on? Show us your photo. No one's been able to see it yet except for me.
There we go. We're bringing this energy.
That's very important. Comebacks are very important.
Comebacks are important, and it's never a bad time to just ponder Dirk. Remember Dirk? I was a huge fan when you guys were doing that 41 Forever stuff. I ate up all that content. And the number one thing that I think about with Dirk that sets him apart from other like athletes I've held up in my own personal pantheon is he never let us down. On the court, off the court, in anything he ever did, he never let us down. And I think, you know, it's truly never a bad time to just reflect on how lucky we are that this is the timeline we get to enjoy, the Dirk timeline.
Right.
So that always means a lot to me. Just a couple notes to run through. I mean, you called that Lively three unbelievable. I think you said last time you were like, "Hey, they got nothing to lose. Might as well let him shoot a three."
Like nobody else can hit one, so why not this guy? Like, who cares?
I mean, that was a great call, and I've always felt like with shooting a basketball, if you're coordinated, you can shoot a basketball. It just takes time, right? There's just a natural level of God-given coordination it requires.
Well,
that's always been my take.
So I remember, you know, going to practice in like summer league in like 2016, 2017, maybe it was like whatever Dorian's first year on the team was. And remember, like Dorian used to not be able to hit the broadside of a barn. Like he was just not a good 3-point shooter. But then it's in practice, you go and like watching the skill level of these guys in practice where it's like, oh, they're doing something that's completely different than anything I've ever seen before. But that's how skilled these guys are. But it's also the pressure of being able to do it in a real live situation. And that's kind of that's like the dividing line between a guy who can play in an NBA game and who can't. And the fact that like somebody in the chat pointed this out, like that's not only is that Lively's first playoff three, that's Lively's first career three. And a winner go home kind of three. Like that's incredible. Really excited about that one.
I didn't know it was his first career three. I do remember when the rule was he was not going to be shooting those as he got used to playing in the NBA, which obviously a good idea from kid to like start him there. Mm-hmm. Great to let him loose though. There's an absolute coaching art. When do you let guys step out of their comfort zone? Yeah, let's run through the notes. So I couldn't believe they didn't let Dirk get back to the game. He was too nice to give that interview in the fourth quarter. You knew he just wanted to be vibing out. I was hurting for him. I was like, let my man just enjoy, what did he say in the Brendan Wright dunk? Shut it down. Let's go home.
I just really enjoyed seeing him because, number one, he looks great. Like, he still looks like he's in great shape. Apparently, watching him move around is a little bit painful from what I've heard, just because I don't think his ankles work very well, which is not surprising. But he's dressed like a Silicon Valley CEO, just going places casually. Like, he looks so good and so happy to be around, and it's always great to see him on the TV.
It's always great to see him. I always love when Sudarshan calls in Weapon of Vishnu. That's what I call him. He's the Weapon of Vishnu. I love how Brian's house is never the correct time of day. There's always just way too much daylight, assuming he's in America for whatever he calls it. So I always get a kick out of that. The basketball question I have is the way Tillman Sr. guards Luka better than anyone else I've seen guard Luka. I asked the question to the chat, and I got an interesting answer. They said, well, it's because he's pretty much the exact same athlete as Luka, and Luka preys on the difference in athleticism. And he's like, so in your kind of analytic opinion, why do you think Tillman? Because it was driving me crazy. Why is this guy locking up our man? It was blowing my mind.
I mean, there are a couple of wide-bodied guys. It's like watching a pair of football players play basketball to a degree. And I think a couple of guys in the Mavs Moneyball Slack were getting real upset that he's not getting any fouls called on him, meaning Tillman. And I don't know what to tell him because I don't think he's fouling Luka. No, I think he's standing straight up, and Luka is has faded at times, literally on the fadeaway shot, a little too much. But, that's all you can really do against Luka is to hope that he misses. That's kind of the end goal. Do you know what I mean?
I'd like to see threes. I'd like to see threes and layups against another big burly guy that.
I really don't have good answers because he realized at some point tonight that I don't actually, this isn't true. He didn't realize that his three wasn't falling. He just kept attacking the rim. And so that was part of it. So, I think with Luka, you give him enough rope, he's always going to hang you. So if they were to go to that matchup, at some point Luka's going to win it.
Yes. So. And there was that last thing. There was that guy in the front row underneath the basket who looked just like Martin Shkreli. I kept on thinking hey, is Martin Shkreli at this game? I wonder if anyone else saw that. Anyway, I'm going to sign out. Mavs fans for life, guys. Take care.
Be good, Sam. Thanks for hanging out.
Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. It's the most fun and exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats for your shot to win up to 100 times your cash. I made my first $10 deposit and received an instant $10 bonus. And if you have the skills, you can play for a shot of turning your $10 into $1,000. And playoff time is the best time to join the Prize Picks community of over 5 million members who have already downloaded the app. Prize Picks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Download the app today and use the code BLUEWIRE for a first deposit match up to $100. That's a first deposit match of up to $100 when you download the app and use the code BLUEWIRE. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Okay, coming up next is my man Micah. Micah, you're live there. Give Micah a second to unmute.
What's going on, Kirk?
Just enjoying the win, man. Just enjoying the win. What you thinking?
This was fun. It just showed how we were able to respond. It just showed how important it is for other guys to join the party, and it's fun. Like, we're not done yet. Am I going to say I'm overly confident about the series because of where we're at? I can't say that yet. But at the same time, if we do manage to dig this out, the slander is going to be glorious.
Sure. I mean, let's be real though. I'm not particularly interested in any sort of thinking along those lines until the Mavericks win game 2. You got to win in Boston. And Kyrie Irving has been just so unbelievably weird in his Boston performances, specifically in Boston. He has to overcome those demons. Just has to. So
that's something that just it gets into your head as a team.
Yeah.
I mean, I can say this as a gambler, right?
Right.
The Miami Dolphins have messed up a lot of my parlays playing against the Patriots over the years. Because whatever it is, they're in their head. So it's for Kyrie, it's just getting past that. But at the same time, as far as the team in general, it's just you just have to be able to open up more optionality.
Right.
Like, we're not seeing Derek Lively just splash that three like it was nothing, like no hesitation, no thought, and just splash that. And you think about that, what does that mean in the future? Like, let's just say, for example, right? Let's just say he's basically got a shot profile in the future of 12 shots a game.
Mm-hmm.
If he's shooting 2 of 5 from 3 and basically 4 of 7, and then he's averaging somewhere around 16, 3, 2, and 2. Like, where do we see him from this kid in the future? Right? It's just
our chat thinks you're drunk, Micah. Have you had some drinks tonight?
I have had several drinks tonight because when I thought it was time to give up on this team, we showed these people that have been saying, "Oh, Luka doesn't impact winning." Well, shut the fuck up, because y'all got bow raced by 50 almost.
Like almost 50 points. That's clear. I'm glad you had shots. I'm glad you had drinks, because I did too.
Yeah, let me have drinks for that, because for the Brian Windhorses of the world that don't think this guy can impact winning, just bust your team down by 50. But
I really like
the team that y'all been wanting to slurp on.
I really like Wendy.
Come on, man.
And the podcast that he
Let's
did,
let's respect this guy as a competitor. That's all I ask.
Micah,
all I ask.
You're the best, man. Thank you so much for hanging out, all right?
Have a great one, Kirk.
All right, talk to you.
Much love, brother. Peace.
You too. All right, the windy of it all is so funny. Ray, you're coming up next. I see your phone or whatever is up in the air. The windy of it all, if you heard him the next day on the Hoop Collective podcast, it's not like he walked any of it back, but he's just like, I think he can do better. I think he can do more. And like the answer is yes, of course. So, all right, let's go with Ray. Ray, I think you're going to close this out because I don't have anybody else, which is a little bit surprising, but hey, maybe people are out.
We can take our time then, as long as you want, and then you can shut me off if you want. That's cool.
What's going on? Talk to me.
Great way to spend a Saturday afternoon here in New Zealand watching that. That was great.
Fantastic. That's good.
And it was the only Saturday game, by the way, weekend game in the finals that I get to see.
That's right.
Not a work day. Yeah, so it was
without killing
awesome.
without getting in trouble somehow at work, right?
Or having to take an annual leave day type thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I had a few points, but now while you mentioned the Windhorse thing, I might as well go into it a little bit.
Sure, let's hear it.
Yep. So I agree too. I think it was his winners are on this side and the losers are on this. I think that was the kind of I wouldn't even say too far, but like that was the kind of one that sounded a little bit too harsh.
It was like a wrestling promo.
Yeah.
It sounded like somebody had written that for him, and it clearly wasn't the case. It was a good line.
Yeah, there's a difference. Yeah, I like the line, but the difference between it is saying that, yes, he's right about all that, but he's just going through the same thing the best players in the world has gone through. LeBron couldn't make a jump shot in the 2007 finals.
Yeah.
And he overcame that. Jason Tatum, obviously, at this point. He's passing better and making other plays when his jump shot's not falling. He couldn't do that in 2002. So it's just the normal things that players have to go through, but they get eviscerated as it happens. That's kind of the reality of national media, I guess.
Yep.
But with the way Luka's responded, and I've mentioned this to someone before, and I don't know if you see this or it's just all in my head. When I find Luka a much better away game player than a home player, and part of me thinks it's because he needs an entity of some kind to focus his hate. Fuck you! I'm taking this game on.
Mm-hmm.
The referees are not a good one to do that with.
Nope.
The crowd is.
Oh, there were a lot of Boston fans there. I don't know if you could tell that from your feed, but my wife flew home today. She just got back from a trip. And she said at the airport, she saw so many Boston fans. Now, American Airlines Arena can sit about 20,000 people. Mm-hmm. So the tickets were quite, tickets for this sporting event. This is really inside baseball, but Mavs fans locally were very upset at how highly priced the tickets were, meaning just for the playoff games, even if you were a season ticket holder, which meant you got priority access. But like some of the stuff were really expensive. So I think a lot of people looked to sell their game 4 tickets to make back their potential investment. Cause like, I'm not kidding. Some of the things I've seen where it's like, you could buy tickets in the lower bowl for $2,000 to $4,000. Like it was crazy expensive.
Was it the same situation as 2011 in Miami in Game 6? You reckon?
Oh my gosh, I was there in Game 6, and I could have bought tickets, and I just didn't because I was scared. I was like 25, I didn't have any money, but I didn't want to put it on like a credit card. But it was just like that, where it's like there were a lot of available tickets, and I think the Boston fans who travel were quite willing to snatch them up. And I don't want to say that he played well because Boston fans were there. That's not my. But I think you're right. Like I think he feeds off of trash talk, and like the Boston players aren't talking shit to him. Yeah, they're just letting him bury himself.
Yeah, and that's exactly the mindset. It's like he, as he grows, hopefully he needs to get to a point where even if you're in a situation where the refs are against you, the entire crowd loves you, don't just leave them the fuck alone. Like they're not going to do you any favors. Just win the fucking game. Don't worry about So yeah, no, I'm glad I'm not crazy. I'm not the only one that kind of sees this.
I mean, it's he's so good, and he needs those things to focus on. And you'd think he wouldn't necessarily need it for the finals, but I mean, we saw it in Game 5 against the Timberwolves. He was yelling at everybody. He was great.
Yeah, it was great. And I think that was the hot one. I think that's what brought on the Windhorse thing and all that sort of stuff. Is I think most national media knew Luka was always been like this, but they didn't even think he'd do this in a very, very pivotal moment and get fouled out for the first time in the finals. So I mean, that's mirror in the face moments for him, right? To learn and get better at. A big shout out to our point of attack defense. So much like, where was this? We were staying in front of Anthony Edwards. We were staying in front of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Do you think there was some weird Jason Kidd strategy the first few games where we're trying to funnel players
No, I think this is one element where Kidd not being a super firebrand can work against his sort of coaching philosophy. And I understand why. I've learned a lot about this. I've been asking a lot of questions to people who cover the league. And the general notion is for a coach like Kidd, kind of a player's coach, he wants these guys to figure it out for themselves. They need to want to play hard. And he can't motivate them like he's Al Pacino in Any Given Sunday. That's probably a reference you don't get.
Oh, no. I'm a big movie buff. I get that.
So it's like that shit just doesn't work in an 82 game seasons. It's and I'm sure he does light into him now and again, but Luka and Kyrie, like Kyrie's defense tonight was magnificent.
Fantastic.
And it's just, it's like you guys, like, I don't know how to really explain it, but it obviously was better. That much is true.
Yeah. And it didn't feel like we had to scramble as much on rotations because we were either right beside them or right in front of them, Luka included. Mm-hmm. So now big shout out to that. And I think I was going to talk about Derek Lively, but you guys have already pointed everything out perfectly. Imagine if he gets to a point where he can hit threes to the point where they have to close out on him. I
think that's going to happen. I don't think that's a if. I think that's a when.
Yeah, that'll be great.
This dude, and I'm too old for this, but my son makes me do all like he tells me about Pokemon stuff all the time. Like he is an evolutionary creature where when you consider where he was in Abu Dhabi or really Summer League last year in Las Vegas to
against the Timberwolves too. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I mean we're talking a year transformation where it's like, I always argue with my boss where he always expects us to do better. We always got to improve. And it's like, that's not real. You can't always improve. There are steps back. Whereas Lively, I've yet to see a step back. It's like the growth potential is just, no, that's not right. Sorry. There we go.
Yeah. Like that. Yeah. Well, to be fair, game 1 and game 2, there was a moment where I thought, oh, is this the moment? But clearly not. Mm-hmm. So, no, that was really cool. And, great to see Exum not get pulled out after 3 minutes. I think I mentioned that.
He looked good. Like, not only did he not get pulled, he was worth it. It was great.
But again, it's not like he wasn't worth it before. Like he was doing fine.
But there were games where he wouldn't look at the rim, and that was a problem.
Yes, I get that. Yeah, but I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, the latter part of the Wolves series and then this series, I thought he was fine and he kind of needed to be there more. But he has this thing where when he dribbles the ball, you feel safe. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Yep.
Compared to most other of the role players, and I feel we need that more. And yeah, by the way, how funny is it seeing Tim Hardaway hit 5 threes in a row?
Not only 5 threes in a row, but 5 threes in 5 minutes. It was like, I mean, I wasn't, honestly, man, I was getting ready for the show. I wasn't watching, and my wife was sitting on the couch, like laughing. And I was like, it was insane.
Yeah. It was almost, I hate to say this, but it kind of made me more mad at him than anything.
Like, you did this now? Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Sure. And maybe there's a little element of that with the Mavs team, our Mavs team in general, where it's like, oh, I love that you guys played this way and it's amazing and, great response. But God, it would have been nice if you did this just a little earlier. Just a little bit. But hey.
Well, Ray, thank you so much for joining the show. You got anything else?
Yeah, hopefully I would love to see Kyrie exercise his demons in game sorry, I've just lost my track of thought. In game 5.
Mm-hmm.
It would be, it would be something special, I think, because Luka has his own demons with his personal self, and he's exercised it a little bit today, just a little bit at least. Yeah. And it'll be good to see Kyrie do the same. And whether we make it the distance or not, at least it sort of builds us a little bit up for the next time.
Well, I am very hopeful for that as well.
Yeah.
All right, man. Talk soon. All right.
All right, man. Take care.
All right. Last but not least, fellow Southern Hemisphere contributor, Rain. Rain, what's going on? You feel better after this game?
I do. I came into the chat last time saying I don't believe and I shouldn't be here, and now I'm going to bring it to you that apparently the NBA is the only Major League sport which hasn't had a 3-0 comeback. It's bound to happen at some point. I'm not entirely sure that's going to be this year, but where to start? After the show last time, I went and listened to Windy, and frankly, I heard from him the same thing he says on every Hoop Collective podcast, because he always has to sneak in somewhere about how insufferable he finds watching Luka because of his complaint to the refs, both him and I would also argue Tim Bontemps as well.
Well, the ref complaining, like if you don't find Luka's ref complaining, I don't like, you're just a patient person. Like the ref complaining does suck. Like it's actively detrimental to the team. It's just, I think a lot of us have decided and accepted that that's part of his game. And I think the notion that it shouldn't be is not one we should let go of quite so easily. Only we can't change it.
Oh, I agree. And he definitely performs better when he doesn't. Simply just having him there when he gets back to be a part of the defense is game changing. I'm more bringing up that I don't think that Windy had anything more to say than his regular agenda that you usually hear anytime Luka is brought up in the Hoop.
Well, Luka's
which is all the
defense
time.
was like, there's data on this. Like, there's a couple of Mavs fans accounts, and I'm not. Look, I don't have any beefs to pick, but look, we all push our agendas because we believe and we like this team. If there's a couple of Mavs fans' Twitter accounts that were really pushing this strange notion that Luka was good on defense for the first 3 games. He was not. He was not. Period. That's okay. He's tired. He carries a huge load. I don't necessarily look to Luka for my defense. It's okay to just say that. Then what I'm also going to say is that tonight in game 4, he was fucking awesome on defense. Like, credit where it's due. There's just no reason to like look at the sky and go, you know what? That sky is actually purple, and here's why. Like, it's just like this shit drives me crazy with people sometimes. Now that like I shouldn't get too bent out of shape about it, because I really try to preach from the notion of we should all be the kind of fans that we want to be. Like, that's the whole point of rooting for laundry and rooting for players. But it's like, Luka, what Wendy had to say about Luka was rooted in the notion that Luka is capable of being one of the best players ever. And he wasn't playing like it through 3 games. So,
I mean, look, I wholeheartedly agree that he definitely fell back into some old habits in the first 3 games of the series defensively, which we haven't seen too much of through the previous series. Where would I like to go now? Oh, that Derek Lively 3 had me so hyped. It was I was struggling not to be as loud as I possibly could be. It almost had me as hype as Luka's game winner. That one shot alone, almost, even if we lose in game 5, makes this whole thing. I mean, it's worth it to get to the finals anyway. But
I know what you mean, though.
That's
like
one moment
factor.
that can change the outlook of this team entirely if Derek Lively can be a threat from the 3-point line. He doesn't even have to be a 40% shooter. If he can hit league average and just be a threat, like you've said, to close out, completely changes the offense. Who knows? His comp could potentially be healthy KP, maybe?
I mean, he can do more stuff off the dribble than KP ever could.
I mean, I can't necessarily say more healthy because he did miss a ton of games this season. But
right.
The role players this game, they came out with such energy, and I quite like that they got to get some run, because who knows, that little bit of extra confidence going into the next game could be huge.
I agree with that a lot.
Tim potentially being able to be on a heater stretch again, maybe his maybe his bricklaying season is over and he's back to hitting 3s. Who knows? It could be something that might be worth looking into. Now, we all know that a kid will put him in for 20 minutes and not. But if we could just apply that rule of give him 3 shots, if he makes 1 or 2 out of 3, keep him in. Who knows? Maybe he can catch fire. Exum having some confidence, and both him and Green, confidence is key.
Yeah.
When they're confident, going to the rim, confident shooting, it makes all the difference. Someone else said that Exum is probably the third most trustworthy person to dribble the ball, and I agree with that. But it's all about the confidence. Does he have the confidence to handle the ball? Does he have confidence to take that shot? And these role players having some confidence could be what changes the game going into Game 5.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we look at it specifically from 3, neither Kyrie or Luka had a good game. And if they don't again, but the role players keep that same energy and can make up that difference with the wide open shots that Kyrie and Luka can generate for them, it might not matter again. Now, I don't think it will be a blowout, but who knows?
That's right, man. Who knows is the point. It's supposed to be fun, and it is fun right now.
This is just it's a much better place than we were in 48 hours ago.
That's yes. That much I can speak to.
Yeah.
All right, man. Hope we'll talk after next game. All right.
All right. See you, Kirk. Thanks, man.
All right. This is a good question. Nadeem Wace says, Kirk, can you talk about Luka, Kyrie, and Exum in the lineup early on in the game where Exum was Oh, my internet died for a minute. Sorry about that, guys. Nadeem Wace says, Kirk, can you talk about Luka, Kyrie, and Exum lineup early on in the game? Where was Exum where Exum was bringing up the ball? That looked very good. They've been trying to steal stuff all series where someone else brings the ball up. But the difference with what particularly Exum has done is Exum has made himself a threat to try to go do something in the key and get the offense going early, even if Luka's not there. Whereas the other guys that were bringing up the ball, it was always an element of, well, they're going to give the ball to Luka, so we can just sort of rest here anyways. So I'm looking forward to seeing the Mavericks maybe trying that continuously. And then honestly, looking at the film and saying, other guys, Kyrie, Derek Jones Jr., Maxi Kleber. Actually, I never want to see Maxi Kleber push the ball up the floor ever again. You can do something and be a threat to the defense. You don't have to shoot, you don't have to score, but you can make them think and you can make them work. So that's a really good question, Nadeem. I like that. I like that thought. Okay, guys, it's 11:30. We've been hanging out for an hour and 15 minutes. Doesn't look like we have anybody else, so I'm going to cut us out here. I will see you guys on Monday night. This has been a great deal of fun, as always. Really appreciate you folks hanging out. Tell your friends, tell your colleagues, tell your enemies. We'll be here on Pod Maverick after dark, and then our live show. So everyone enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will talk soon. Go Mavs.